Hello and welcome to erpwebtutor.com. This is Arideep. In the previous video, we talked about creating the payment methods. We created three different payment methods: the check, the direct deposit, and the third-party payment, which is the child support. Now, in this video, we will start with talking about the consolidation set. Now, the consolidation set is something that is used to group the payroll runs. And the other thing that I need to tell you is, it gets automatically created when you create the business group. So let's take a look here. The name of our business group was Demo Corp US Business Group. We can take a look under the organization. And of course, this was done as a part of the core HR setup. So this will not be something that we will create in our payroll setups. So I'm just showing you that this is our business group that we just created or during our core HR. And let's copy this, and we will see that if we go to this particular screen, which is payroll consolidation, and let's take a look at what value is in here, you can see that this particular thing is already there, and this actually got created when we created the business group. It assumes the same name as the name of the business group when you create it in the beginning. Now, if you keep on updating the name of the business group, let's say you rename it, this value doesn't get changed. So this value retains the same name that you first used when you first created the business group. So we don't really have to make any changes here. We just need to make sure that something that the consolidation set is already there, and we will use this default consolidation set. So now let's move on to the next step, which is creating the payrolls. Now for that, the navigation is your HR manager responsibility, payroll, and then description. Now in this particular case, we are going to create one monthly payroll, and of course this is a date tracked form, so you would like to date track to the day that you are doing all the setups. In my case, I am doing all the setups as of 1st Jan 1951, so I will not change the effective date. And then I am going to name my payroll as Demo US monthly payroll, and my period type is going to be a monthly payroll, so it's going to be calendar month. So you can take a look at all the values in this list. It has bi-weekly, bi-month, bi-week, calendar month, lunar month, all kinds of stuff. The most commonly used ones would be weekly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, and monthly. So those are the ones that we normally use for paying our employees. So the period type is calendar month. The first period end date is going to be the first period that I'm going to use this payroll for. In my example, this particular demo, I'm saying that I'm going to use this payroll from the 1st of January 2012. Therefore, my first period's end date is going to be 31st January 2012. So I'm going to change this year to 2012. As you can see that it got defaulted based on your effective date. So it took the first period end date based on the 1st Jan 1951, which was our effective date. Now the number of years I want to set this payroll up for, you can always keep on changing it. Based on this value, it's going to create the periods in the database. For now, if I create it for 5 years, that should be good enough. The next thing you need to keep in mind, the date offset, and you have 4 different values here. First of all, just keep in mind that these numbers signify the number of days. If it's a positive number, it's going to be that many number of days from your period end date. So in this example, my first period end date is 31st January 2012. 0 in on the check means it's actually 31st January. If I had 2, it would mean 2 days from 31st January, which would be 2nd of February. Now let's try to understand what these dates or these days mean. Now, the check date is also known as the pay date, is actually the day of receiving the pay. So this is the day on which the employee gets paid. The scheduled run is the day on which the payroll is going to be run. The cutoff date is the date on beyond which you have to stop making entries. You cannot make entries, or you cannot correct somebody's entries beyond that date. And then finally, the pay slip. This is going to be the day the pay slip is going to be available. And of course, keep in mind your pay slip has to be greater or equal to your check date, because you cannot have your pay slip available until you have your checks. Now, it depends on the client that how they run their payroll. You can default all of them to 0, which means that your cutoff is every day. It's going to be on the same date, or based on the need, you can change these entries. In my example, I want to make them the company, or this in this example, what I want to do is I want to show you that you can actually run the payroll ahead of time, before the period actually ends. Some companies do that, some companies don't. So the normal practice would be to run the payroll after the period is complete. So let's create something. That my cutoff is, let's say I enter like 3, which means that I got 3 days after my first period end date to make all the entries, all the corrections, and I should be able to start running the payroll. Now, my scheduled run, it's going to be 3. So after I set the cutoff, no change is going to be happening. I will run the payroll 3 days after the period end date, and then it can take some time. You can run the payroll, realize some mistakes here and there, and you're going to fix it. You're going to rerun it. So I'm going to say that the checks would be made available 5 days after the period ends, and then you can just say this one is going to be 5 as well. Now, the consolidation set, like I just showed you in the past, I have to select the consolidation set. It also allows me to enter the costing information at the payroll level, but I will not enter anything at this point. I will explain what the costing means in terms of payroll, but at this point we will all we're trying to show you is that we are not costing the information or costing the payroll, costing this particular process at the payroll level. You can have costing at different levels. You can have costing at the payroll level, at the org level, at the element entry level, at the employee assignment level, and then you have priorities. So please take a look. There's a document which is posted on our website which will give you a fair idea about the costing in Oracle Payroll. So all we're trying to show you here is that by not making any entries in here, that we are not costing the information at the payroll level. Now, the other thing that we need to enter, so you will have the costing and the suspense account, so you have both, and then click on your further payroll information. So you can enter your HR or payroll representatives if you have somebody, your contact person. Again, this is just for pure information purpose. There is no significant interpretation for this particular field. The pre-notification allowed, yes or no. I'm going to say no. And then finally the other required field, which is terminate seeded earnings by. So I'm going to say that if I'm using any seeded earnings, I'm going to terminate those by the last standard process date. So again, by now you should be familiar with the last standard process date, final close, the termination date. Those are something that you should have picked up by now. Those are something related to the employee's termination. So take a look at the information related to the termination process, and you'll understand what we mean by this particular date, the last standard process date. And we will not enter anything else on any of these fields. We'll just say OK, and we will save it. Now, after we save it, let's take a look at this particular period dates button, and you will see what I was talking about. My first period, see the start date is January 1st, the end date is 31st Jan. So based on my selection of the first period end date, it created the periods, the pay periods. And I said 5 years, so somewhere it should be in the 2017 should be my last pay period. So as you can see, that 2016, so 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That's 5 years. Now, again, let's go to the top. Now let's try to explain the date offsets. So the period, start date, end date, the status is open. After you finish your payroll run, you can just set the status to closed, and then you cannot run payroll for that period. The check date I said was 5, so you can see the check for this particular pay period is 5th of February. The scheduled run was 3, so the scheduled run is 3rd February. The cutoff was 3 as well, so the cutoff is 3rd February. And the payslip, payslip view is 5 days after the check days, then you can say 10th Feb, and that's pretty much it. So what I can do as well as I can, if I make it 0, what's going to happen is I will do a correction. And so basically the employee should be able to view the payslip after their check date. So again, let's take a look back here. As you can see that now your payslip view date and the check date have become the same. The check date is 5th of February, payslip view date is 5th of February as well. So this number that you enter here is nothing but these many days after the check date. So the payslip is always after the check date. So whatever number you enter here. Now, so that's all we had to do in in creating the payroll. Then now we are going to go to the other button here, which is the valid payment methods. Now, we should be able to pull up the payment methods that we created. This is our first one, which is a check payment. Then we select the rest, direct deposit, and then the child support. So for this payroll, these are my valid payment methods, and I can select a default payment method. Usually I would be selecting the check payment as a default because I will just save it. It should automatically come as default. So let's requery this and we'll see what I was saying. Then I'm just requerying this payroll, and I will just select the check payment as the default here. The reason why we do the check payment as the default is because there might be cases where the employee has not provided his bank account information in order to receive a direct deposit, but the employee has to be paid. So even if he doesn't have a bank account, even if he has not provided his banking information, you can still run a payroll and pay that employee with a live check. So that's why this check payment method is usually set as the default payment method. So now if you go here, you will see that this has been checked automatically. You cannot check it from here. You just select the 3 valid options and then you enter the payment method. If you had multiple check payment options, you would have been seeing those options. But in my case, I only had one check payment, so it defaulted. And after I saved it, it automatically, this default checkbox got checked. So that would be all regarding setting up of the payroll that we will be using for this demo. In the next video tutorial, we will talk more about the other configurations, and if you have any questions, please send us an email, or you can just post on our feedback section. And we really thank you for watching.